Hello, my name is SJ, and I am H7 Network's CCO. You can find the H7 Network online at H7, the letter H, the number 7, network.com. Today, I am interviewing one of our members in the Indianapolis market, and I'd like to warmly welcome Mr. Greg Cross. Greg, thank you for joining me.
Hey, SJ, how you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you so much, Greg. It's really cool to have a chance to interview you because I obviously also know you, and we have a great opportunity today to introduce you to more people in H7. So I'm going to ask you some questions.
I'm
Since
ready.
you are one of our winners from the month of October for an initiative called WinWin. So the first question I'd like to ask for those who are watching and listening to this is tell us a little bit about your businesses.
Well, I have two businesses, SJ. One is called CCM Creative. That is a traditional digital marketing agency that I incorporated and founded back in 2006. And so we have got past the national SBA curve of, I think, most small businesses tank when they're, about 5, 7 years. That's like the benchmark. So we've been in business for 14 years, and we are a traditional, CCM part is a traditional WordPress design, branding, social media, every once in a while for a client if they need it, and video production company. And then in May of this year, May 2020, we launched a new business called glimpsevideo.com. And that is a platform, it's a software as a service, SJ, that allows our users to produce their own professional video content for their marketing strategy.
Well, it speaks very well of you, your entrepreneurial spirit, that you launch a new enterprise during a real tough time economically. So kudos to you.
Yeah, am I crazy or what?
A lot of entrepreneurs are. So very cool. Well, thank you for sharing. Let's change the direction just a little bit since H7 is all about relationships. Let's hear a little bit about you personally. So whatever you feel like you'd like to share so we can get to know you better, your family, hobbies, interests, where do you live, where did you live in the past, things like that.
Well, I'll start with the fact that I was born in Indiana, just right there on the Ohio line in a little town called Richmond, Indiana. And then, believe it or not, because I know there are some Buckeyes watching this, I grew up in Ohio. So I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. If anyone knows where West High School is on the west side there, I grew up there. And then Dad moved me and my siblings and mom to Westerville, Ohio. And that was back in the day, the early 70s, when Westerville was still kind of a little postage stamp town. And when I talk to people who've lived in Columbus all their life, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Greg, Westerville's grown like crazy." And but I remember growing up there. And then in the bicentennial year, then for our country, we moved back to Indiana. And so I've been back in Indiana ever since. In fact, I went to high school my second semester in Indiana, graduated from a local high school here in Muncie, Indiana, called Delta High School, and then went on to go to Ball State University, which is also in Muncie, home of David Letterman and Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield, and some other notables. But I graduated from there with a degree in journalism. And you think with a degree in journalism that somebody would go into newspaper or something like that. I actually went into full-time Christian ministry. And so I went to work for an organization called InterVarsity, which was a ministry that focused on college students. So I was kind of ran with the educational elite for 13 years. I had what's called a anchor campus, which was Valparaiso University, which is a private Lutheran college up in Valparaiso, Indiana. And then to use an old term, itinerated, basically means I visited other college campuses in the Northwest Indiana. So I went once a month. I went to Notre Dame and held Bible studies and stuff for students there. And then I also went to IU in Gary and Purdue Calumet, which is located over in Hammond, Indiana. So I enjoyed that. And then I left um, the college ministry to go on a full time with a staff position at a 5,000 plus member church in Columbia, South Carolina. I was First Presbyterian Church there. I was there for 4 years, enjoyed that, and worked with, again, singles, but not college students. So I worked with everything post college. I think the oldest single I had in the group was like 52. So I think my greatest name to claim there, SJ, which is kind of interesting. So when you have singles, most singles that I meet want to get married. And so in the course of my 4 years, though I don't think I was a matchmaker, but I think it was like 28 couples. So 28 times two, whatever that is, that's almost 30, 60 people, singles got married in that 4 years I was there. And eventually left the singles group. Now, I had a colleague that said, Greg, you're the only ministry at the church where a decrease in size actually equals success. And I we had a laugh about that and going, yeah, I never thought about that, you know. But then it was kind of my love for entrepreneur, because I think most people that are in ministry, especially if somebody's a solo pastor or something, they kind of have an entrepreneurial spirit because they wear many hats. And I just always had kind of a geeky side to me, a technical geeky side, which I know a lot of guys have that. But that's when I started my own business, started CCM in 2006, and have loved it. But I consider myself a Hoosier, even though Buckeye State really developed my formative years. But I have a fondness for both states and really enjoy living here, working.
No, that's a great story, and I appreciate you sharing that. It'll help those who watch and listen to this get to know you better, and that's again what H7 is all about. And that actually leads to my next question for you, Greg. How long have you been a member of H7? How did you hear about H7? What do you like the most about this community?
Yeah, so I officially became a member in August of 2019. I was a part of another networking organization that typically identifies themselves with 3 letters. So I'll let you let people kind of figure out what that is. But I was a part of that group for 6 years, and it was networking has always been a part of my strategy and actually my enthusiasm for growing my business and helping other people grow their business. But I kind of became a little, I don't want to make it come across as negative because that's not who I am or what I want to be. But you know how you can be a part of something and it just doesn't fit, kind of like a glove anymore. And so there's a member in our H7 group that some people know, Steve Ellison, who kept saying, Greg, you need to check out H7. Okay, Steve, I will. Greg, come check out H7. So I went to an H7 meeting, went to a couple of them, and I would think probably one of the attractive qualities of H7 that really kind of jazzed me was what we call the connect activities. And it wasn't like a 5-minute connect activity. It was a good 15, 20 minutes where a question was given to those in attendance that day. If we had a bigger group, obviously we would split it up into 2 groups or 3 groups. And then we would ask a very strategic pointed question in that H7 meeting, and we went around the table. And the reason why I liked that, because number one, it got me thinking about my own business. But I gleaned and learned a lot from the other people at the table about their business, who they wanted to get connected with. So for instance, if we had a question about, marketing or something, which, is a topic that I love to talk about, but I can say, well, hey, you need to meet this person. Or if we talked about bookkeeping, or if we talked about this, that, or the other. And that was kind of what sold the deal for me. I'm like, okay, this is really the ethos. and a big part of the strategy of H7. I want to be a part of that. So I left my 6-year seat with the other networking organization and met with Clayton and Janet Greer at the time and came on board.
Well, thank you for sharing, and that speaks well of your own experience, and it gives some folks who may not be aware of what H7 is or how we do things a little illumination. So thank you. And then that leads now, we'll cap it off with this question. So as I mentioned on the intro, this video is being recorded because you are part of an initiative that the CEO Clayton rolled out called WinWin. And I wanted to ask you, why did you choose to participate in this initiative? And would you encourage other members to do likewise?
Yes, but I think the only caveat that I would put to that and is that I appreciate Clayton's initiative and everything, but probably if you even didn't have a win-win, I would just naturally by default be inviting people. So thanks to Clayton and to you guys for noticing that, but I don't really do that or not necessarily motivated to do it. It's just a part of my DNA because I see the value that number one, networking has, right? But I also see the value that H7 has. And I think a lot of people that come to H7 and as an alpha team leader, I get to hear stuff from people, and I hear time and time at our Thursday meetings at noon, people going, "Wow, this networking group is so welcoming. Wow, you guys really seem different from the other networking groups. Wow, I really like how you guys operate." And so when you understand kind of the what's that French word, the milieu, MILLIEU, I mean, the environment, the culture of a group, and you understand the vibe, it makes it a whole lot easier, SJ, to invite people into that experience. Because I know my team is awesome. I mean, they do a really good job of, the first time, in the Zoom world, somebody pops on the screen, like, "Hey, SJ, hey, John, hey, Susie, welcome." I mean, we really practice that and say, listen, no one should go unwelcomed. Even after you say hi to them, make sure you go to the chat and still say, "Hey, Bob, hey, SJ, welcome to the group," because people want to feel welcomed and they don't want to seem like a wallflower. And so it's really easy for me just to invite people because we have a great group.
Well, no, thank you for sharing. Again, something very important for those who are watching and listening. So now I'll wrap this up, and I wanted to, as part of the wrap up, Greg, I want to thank you so very much for investing a little bit of your time to
Oh,
share with me.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And for those again who watch this video on our social media channels, whether it's on YouTube, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you can find us, if you are not already aware, online at H7, the letter H, number 7, network.com. Have a great day, everyone.